All right, thank you for being here today. I have your submitted report regarding your patient Ruby. Do you declare under penalty of perjury the accuracy of the contents of this submitted report?
Yes.
All right, thank you. To begin, could you please summarize for the court the timeline of the medical events that have taken place for Ruby since she came under your care?
Ruby came to us in February, right before we went into COVID procedures. She came after having a stroke from the hospital. She was released into our care for for therapy. And from there, we've had the opportunity to work with her. She's improved a lot on therapy until she had another stroke back in April. When she had her stroke in April, it set her back to where we were at the beginning and needing to do more therapy. We do have a problem with trying to get a hold of her power of attorney and getting consent for care to continue things, as well as having her care paid for at this time.
Could you talk a little bit about the typical role of a power of attorney and how that situation is different than what you're seeing with Ruby's power of attorney and how it could be affecting her medical needs?
A power of attorney usually can either have medical power of attorney or a financial power of attorney or dual power of attorney. So if, in this case, her daughter has dual power of attorney, so this means that she's over her medical needs and she's able to make all medical decisions for Ruby. So in the event that Ruby's not able to voice for herself, which at this time able to voice what she wants done medically. And she's also in charge of all of Ruby's finances since Ruby can't say how her money is being spent at this time. That is typically the role of a power of attorney.
Okay. And how have you been finding Ruby's current power of attorney coming up short or leaving her with some vulnerabilities?
When Ruby had an incident back in March where she was having shortness of breath, I do believe it was March, where she was having shortness of breath and we were needing to make a decision on sending her to the hospital or not. We tried several times calling her and she did not answer the phone, and we ended up sending Ruby out for her best interest. When she had this last stroke, we also tried calling her power of attorney several times to let her know that we were sending her out to the hospital, so that she could be able to meet them at the hospital and make decisions. And even talking with the staff at the hospital, she never called or contacted them, leaving them to make whatever decision was best for Ruby to save her life, as she did not have a do not resuscitate paperwork. So they had to do all life-saving care as best as possible without her power of attorney being present.
Okay. Switching now to cross-examination. Does your facility have any specific procedures in place to attempt to engage power of attorney or educate a power of attorney before you look to change to a different power of attorney or look for a guardian?
When we first admitted Ruby and her daughter stated that she was her power of attorney, we did go over what that meant and what that entailed, as far as what we expected from her and how we expected her to make any medical decisions, as well as we went over the financial piece for how much Medicare pays up until day 14 of her stay. And after of her stay, there was a copay that the daughter was supposed to pay out of pocket, and we did explain that to her, and she voiced her understanding at that time, as well as signed admitting paperwork stating that she understood what we talked about.
Okay. And then can you tell me a little bit about, within the care team for Ruby, why was it decided to petition for guardianship rather than work with the family to see if there was another power of attorney who may be able to be more present in Ruby's care?
Well, as Ruby had not appointed a secondary power of attorney on her form, it is impossible at this time to ask Ruby to assign another power of attorney for herself, is her cognition isn't there to be able to voice who she wants is her power of attorney. So at this time, in her best interest is to seek guardianship and let the state take over her care, to provide the best care for her.
Okay. And did you find among the team that is involved in Ruby's care, was this a consensus? Did you all agree this was the best route to take?
Yes, when talking with my administrator, we did agree that this would be the best, at this time. During the fact that we are in the middle of a pandemic, normally our route would be to call APS, which is Adult Protective Services, and let them do a open case of abuse for financial abuse or what may be going on, to like figure out what's going on with the family, especially since her daughter's saying that she is unable to pay, but yet Ruby receives Social Security. So we're unsure what she's doing with the money. So usually that would be an APS case. But because APS is currently not accepting any of these cases, and they're only accepting like really high
Mhm.
COVID related cases, our next best interest is to seek guardianship to continue to provide the best care for Ruby.
Okay. Well, I thank you for being present in court today. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.